Today, we're talking about everybody's favorite topic, property taxes. I am hearing from home buyers and home sellers alike, property taxes are becoming a bigger and bigger problem, not just for homeowners who are trying to budget their regular finances, but also for home buyers who are trying to qualify for a principal, interest, tax, and insurance payment, PITI, with the elevated interest rates that we're seeing in the market today. And in light of the high home prices and the high interest rate, property taxes are starting to stand out more and more as an issue and a barrier to home ownership and an affordability and budget problem. So we're going to dive deep today into homestead exemptions, which are the barely scratching the surface benefit and savior for homeowners when it comes to property taxes. Talk about the history of homestead exemption, how much it is, how much you can save, how to get it on your house or how to make sure you have it, whether you're purchasing or already own a home, and some of the differences between Florida and other states that have homestead exemption laws. So I'm Don Harkins. Welcome to the Don Harkins Real Estate Show. I'm your host here to help consumers, realtors, lenders, and property managers navigate the complex world of real estate. Together, we'll uncover the deceptions and misconceptions propagated by some of the most well-known names in the industry. We're going to look at myths and tactics that can unfairly target consumers and practitioners. So hopping into this homestead exemption, specifically, if you own a home in Florida, it matters for you a lot. It's going to save you potentially thousands in property taxes. And perhaps more importantly than the savings, it offers you broad legal protections that most homeowners aren't aware of. So we're going to break it down from the history. When you go back to the origins of Florida's homestead exemption, the concept protections date all the way back to the mid-1800s when Florida adopted laws to protect families from losing their homes due to debt. That was the original intent, was to prevent someone who had a business go bad or fell on tragic times from losing their actual home. So it was ensuring homeowners had a permanent residence free from certain creditors. And it was initially enshrined in Article 10, Section 4 of the Florida Constitution, and that provides one of the strongest homestead protections in the nation. And this is why when you look at areas like Palm Beach and Naples, you go, why do so many billionaires live in Florida? This is one of the reasons why. It's one of the best places to park wealth, where it will be fully protected and free from the vast majority of creditors. So over time, the homestead exemption evolved. Initially, it was just about protecting your house from creditors, shielding homes from forced sales by court judgments or liens. But in 1934, in response to the Great Depression, Florida voters approved a constitutional amendment creating a property tax exemption for homeowners that set the foundation for today's system. And over the decades, additional amendments have increased the exemption, although only incrementally. But they've also added some additional benefits for seniors, disabled individuals, and veterans, which is helpful. But one of the most significant changes came in 1992 with the introduction of the Save Our Homes Amendment. And this is a huge piece of what homeowners benefit today, or how homeowners benefit today. The Save Our Homes Amendment limited how much property taxes could increase annually. And then in 2008, Florida voters also bolstered Florida's homestead exemption by approving Portability, which allowed homeowners to transfer their tax savings that they had accrued over time to a new home. So we'll touch on that a little bit. So benefits of homestead exemption, a tax bill with a reduction applied, is going to just be, either help you qualify for more home or put more money in the homeowner's pocket. So in Florida, how much do you save? In Florida, if you own a primary residence, you can apply for up to $50,000 in property tax exemptions. The first $25,000 applies to all property taxes, including school taxes. The second $25,000 just exempts you from the non-school taxes. So you get, $500,000 house, property appraiser comes in, assess it for $450,000, and then you can reduce that $450,000 further to $400,000. So potentially helping to, only create a 20% reduction in the value you're paying taxes on from the market value, potentially. Then the Save Our Homes cap limits annual increases to 3% or the consumer price index, whichever is lower. So we see, property taxes going up year after year after year after year after year after year, always hitting that 3%, always hitting that 3%. Well, inflation running hot is bad for a lot of reasons, but it's also bad for our property taxes, right? If we could get the CPI to be below 3%, we'd all save on our property taxes. So, benefits, we've got the reduction in the assessed value. We've got the cap on the annual increase. Then there's the asset protection portion, which means in most cases, your home cannot be forcibly sold to satisfy debts. And then there's those additional parts and pieces for seniors and disabled individuals and veterans and surviving spouses of first responders as well. So portability, to talk about that, if you sell your Florida property and you buy a new primary residence in the state, you can transfer your Save Our Homes tax benefit to the new home. And the way it works is the difference between your market value and your assessed value under the Save Our Homes cap is called your portability benefit. And you can transfer up to $500,000 of portability benefit to your new home. You have to transfer this benefit within 3 years of selling your old home. So that timing is very important. But, let's say you bought a house for $300,000. You put it under Homestead. And so now its assessed value is $250,000. And then you live in it for 20 years, and the market value of that home is $700,000, but the assessed value is only $300,000. We have $400,000 of portability there. So if you go out and buy $1 million house, as long as it's within 3 years of selling your old house, you can bring that $400,000 of portability with you. And instead of paying taxes on $1 million home, you only have to pay taxes on a $600,000 house. So portability was a big piece in trying to help create some relief when everybody was moving in 2008 after the mortgage crisis. People had accrued a lot of, benefit under the Save Our Homes Act, but they were being forced to sell for whatever reason. So this allowed them to maintain some of that, go out, get into another house, and kind of reset. Big important piece of all this is there is a deadline for filing for homestead exemption. The way it should work, you should be able to close on a home and at closing, file your homestead exemption. So if you buy a home in October of 2024 and it's your primary residence, you should be able to file homestead exemption right then at the closing table. Title company should be able to send it off, or the broker, and be done with it. But Florida's tax collectors are greedy, and they know that if they make you wait until the next calendar year, you're probably going to forget, or a lot of people will forget, which means they can screw you for an extra year for higher property taxes. So for no reason at all, you cannot file for homestead exemption until the calendar year after you purchased your home. So let's say you bought a home in August of 2024. Beginning January 1, 2025, you are eligible to file for homestead exemption. In order to file, you must have owned the home as your primary residence on December 31st of the previous calendar year. So if you bought a home in 2024 and you owned it on December 31st, now is the time. You have until March 1st. March 1st is the annual deadline to apply for homestead exemption. If you miss it, the greedy tax collectors in Florida are 100% going to assess and collect taxes on the full value of your home, and you'll have to wait until the following year. So be sure to look out for your friends, your family members, your neighbors, your coworkers, anybody that you noticed who moved. Help them out. Remind them March 1st is the deadline to file for homestead exemption. So Florida's not the only state that has homestead exemption laws. So there's unlimited exemptions, meaning states like Florida, Texas, Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Arkansas, they allow homeowners to protect the full value of their primary residence from creditors. And again, this goes back to why so many billionaires own homes in these states. You can come here and say, you would say like, wow, somebody just paid $130 million for that house. Why would you pay that much for that house? It's not worth $130 million. Well, they don't really care what it's worth. It's just a good place to park $130 million where it's going to be safe. I mean, it's going to appreciate, it's going to be tax advantaged, and it's can't be forced to be liquidated in the event something goes wrong in your deal. That's why real estate prices run up so high in some of these ultra high worth luxury areas. Is it's not really about how much a home is worth. It's about how much wealth can I park inside that home to insulate it and protect it from judgment, seizure, creditors, etc. So Florida's unique. It does have unlimited protection. Other states like California, they have exemptions in different ranges. So, from $300,000 up to $600,000, depending on the county. So a portion of the wealth or equity in your home can be protected from judgments, seizures, forced sale, creditors, but not the full value. It's not unlimited like it is in Florida. And then other states like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, they don't have any state level homestead exemptions. So definitely a benefit to purchasing in Florida, but a deadline you absolutely cannot afford to miss, and a benefit that it is critical to share with your neighbors, friends, and coworkers to make sure they can take advantage of this. To illustrate what's going on with property taxes in the, what I think is just robbery of Florida citizens. When the homestead exemption was initially put into place, when they first created the exemption of value or the reduction in assessed value, they reduced, this was in 1934, they reduced taxable property values by $5,000 and this was aimed at alleviating property tax burdens during the Great Depression. A $5,000 reduction in value during the Great Depression, 1934, was a massive reduction. And in 1980, the homestead exemption was increased to $25,000. So the median home price in 1980, $62,000. And that's when they voted to increase the exemption amount that was set in 1934 from $5,000 to $25,000. Okay. Well, in 1980, a $25,000 exemption in today's prices, that would be equivalent to a $185,000 homestead exemption. So if it feels like property taxes are expensive, if it feels like property taxes are outrageous or property taxes are getting out of control, they are. We're paying more in property taxes today than any generation ever before us. So you would have to triple the homestead exemption today to create an equivalent relief that the voters in 1980, when they raised it from $5,000 to $25,000, were achieving. Part of the problem here is that county tax collectors and county commissioners know that it's easier to negotiate with the public and collect more taxes than it is to negotiate with the vendors, contractors, and labor unions that they have to negotiate with if they want to save money or reduce the county budget. You see, these county commissioners come and go, county tax collectors come and go. They're not skilled negotiators. They're not used to fiercely negotiating contracts. But when you have a company like Waste Management, for instance, Well, waste management knows exactly how to deal with and manipulate and control county commissioners, city commissioners, and knows exactly how to squeeze them and extract as much money as possible for the services they're providing. In fact, they do this all day, every day, all across the country with thousands of municipalities. And they're excellent at doing this. But we've got to start taking responsibility and holding our commissioners and our elected officials accountable for the fees and costs that they're paying to vendors. And until we stop doing that, the property taxes are going to continue to climb just to cover the budgets as these private companies continue to extract more and more fees for services out of the inexperienced elected officials. So that's how we solve the problem. Get some elected officials in there that know how to negotiate, know how to get better deals on services, know how to bring down cost, know how to find waste in the county budget. If we do that, then the county can look at their budget and say, you know what, we don't need that much tax revenue. We don't have to vote for such a big budget. We don't have to have such a big increase. Another route is going back to a constitutional amendment and raising the amount of the exemption from $50,000 to $185,000. Put it back to where it was in 1980. Create some relief for homeowners and make it easier for people to get in and buy houses and afford a mortgage payment. Anyways, that's a high-level overview of Florida's Homestead Exemption. I hope it makes it clear on why Florida is such a great place to buy and own property and why so many people do buy and own property here. If you have any questions about real estate, mortgage financing, investing, property management, I have offices throughout Central Florida and the Space Coast. We can help you in all those areas. Happy to have a conversation about your unique situation. I'm Don Harkins with Don Harkins Realty, and thank you for watching.